Yo, what's the word on the bird, man? What's the word? What's the word? How y'all feel, man? Everybody cool? Y'all decent? Yeah, man. I'm back at y'all, man. Plausible deniability. We got another episode for you. Definitely appreciate all the support. You feel me? All the feedback I've been getting. Much love to y'all just for rocking with me. For checking this out. Definitely if you enjoy the content. Um, like I say in the other videos, man, just definitely subscribe. But if you subscribed, even if you're not, just go ahead and share it to somebody who you feel might be like-minded, or who may disagree completely. You feel me? I'm here for all the conversation, all the different opinions, you know what I mean? See what we can get to the bottom of, you feel me? Uh any ideas, any content that y'all want to hear about, that y'all want some research on, I don't mind looking into things, Go ahead, shoot me a message down in the comments. Let me know how y'all feeling. The videos that I already have up, again, if you agree, if you like them, let me know. If you disagree, if you think I'm tripping, you think I'm bugging, that's cool too, man. Let me know something. We can have a discussion, you feel me? So yeah, man, this episode, something that's definitely been on my mind really a majority of my life. If you from the Midwest, I'm sure you heard about the Chicago fire, the Great Chicago Fire, you know. When I was a kid, like going all the way back to elementary school, that's something that kind of we was taught about. I always thought it was lame. It never really made sense to me, a lot of things just history wise, they'll tell you little fun facts. I remember being a youngin' and having my little $5 or $10 or $15 in my pocket, ready to go to the Scholastic Book Fair. You feel me? All my pre-internet babies. I know y'all remember the book fair. You break your neck to get up in there, grab you some books, some other toys, that type of stuff. But they always had the little books with the fun facts in them, or even just things we get taught in school. And again, I'm talking like back elementary days. It seemed like even the textbooks, in school, I don't remember too many textbooks where we would read them in a chronological order, start to finish. I remember pretty much just about every class that I've ever been in, all 12 years of school. It was a lot of jumping around, and especially, it never made sense to me in the history book. The teachers, it was like the lesson plan. It was always a lot of jumping around. We go from this chapter, then we like 10 chapters ahead of that. Then you jump back 4 or 5 chapters, you know what I mean? And it's always just like fun facts, it was never really getting down to the real information behind different events that was happening. Again, just the type of thing that never really made sense to me, but really the type of thing I would tend to get in trouble for, asking questions about. I had a million questions on those type of things as a kid. Specifically, the Great Chicago. I don't know. It was just something I remember always hearing a bunch of little fun facts here and there about, and it was like like a worldwide event type of thing, a one of one. This is the most horrible thing that's ever happened, but at the same time, it's like a major comeback story for the city of Chicago. It laid the groundwork for the Chicago that we know of. You feel me? Even to the point, like more than just the little fun facts or just the little bullet points that you would get in the textbook. It was even like nursery rhymes and stuff about it. I remember, as a kid. And definitely, if y'all remember any of those, go and let me know in the comments, But yeah, man, we gonna jump into this. Let's do a little bit of research, see what we can find out. I definitely wasn't a kid that gave my full and complete attention in school at all times. You know what I mean? So I'll be the first one to tell you, it's definitely I'm sure some things that I missed back in the day. So yeah, man, Chicago fire, 1871. It's something else that kind of stuck out to me. I was checking out this article a little bit earlier, from the History Channel, so this a trusted source, right? This is I'm sure they impartial. I'm sure they got your best interest at heart. You feel me? So we just gonna see what they got to say about it. But I don't know. I always remember being taught, the Chicago fire, the Great Chicago Fire. I don't remember too many times them breaking down, the year, the time period that this happened in. So it's just funny to me. It was like back in the day, again, the pre-internet days. I don't know. Again, it was like they never really made a point to let you know what time period all of these different major events in history actually happened in. It was like it all kind of just run together. Anything that you kind of got taught in public school that was at least a generation or two before you were there, it was like it was all kind of mushed together in time, Nobody ever really broke down to me, even till now, how actually recent this event was, They even had little phrases, little buzzwords like, that was olden times. So it's like you supposed to think that's like, a hammer and chisel, horse and carriage, that type of thing. You know what I mean? Everybody was walking around, just a bunch of dummies compared to now, At least, again, that's how I remember being taught a lot of this stuff, in the sense of the time frames of it. But yeah, we're going to see what they got to say, man. So it says the Chicago Fire of 1871, also called the Great Chicago Fire. So that's, that's what I remember being taught. This was a major event, a massive event. Never happened before. Completely unexpected, completely unpreventable. You feel me? I used to wonder, were there firefighters back then? Like, what was going on back then? And I just never remember getting a straight answer, But it's cool. I was a kid, I always looked to the authority figure, like, if you teaching me something, and you testing me on it, I should be able to ask questions and you should have a logical answer readily available. But, maybe they was asking too much. So History Channel says, the Great Chicago Fire burned from October 8th to October 10th, 1871, and destroyed thousands of buildings, killed an estimated 300 people, and caused an estimated $200 million in damages. Legend has it that a cow kicked over a lantern in a barn and started the fire. Now this is the only story I remember being taught, and like I said, even down to like the little nursery rhymes and stuff that you would hear, just living in Illinois, living in the Midwest. They said, yeah, it was this one cow. The cow did it. Plausible deniability. Nobody else had nothing to do with it. And that's what it is. So History Channel is telling me, legend has it that a cow kicked over a lantern in a barn and started the fire. But other theories hold that humans or even a meteor might have been responsible for the event that left an area of about 4 miles long and almost a mile wide of the Windy City, including its business district, in ruins. Fam, I'm gonna keep it real with y'all, man. And again, y'all let me know down in the comments or something, man. I really don't remember hearing nothing about this being a possibility at all through my school years. I definitely don't remember hearing this at all. I remember hearing about Mrs. O'Leary's cow started the fire. It was the cow's fault. Maybe I'm tripping. So it says, following the blaze, reconstruction efforts began quickly and spurred great economic development and population growth. Cool. So, and that's another part of the story that I do remember of, yeah, it was bad. Yeah, people died. All this money was lost. All of this infrastructure was burnt up. But man, it's a comeback story. We Chicagoans, we're resilient, all of that, Okay, cool. I always had, again, a bunch of questions about the in between, but never really got those answered at all through school. Excuse me. So it says, in October 1871, dry weather and an abundance of wooden buildings, streets, and sidewalks made Chicago vulnerable to fire. Even that was something that I remember asking about, like, what were the buildings made out of for this fire to just get so uncontrollable so fast? You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, everything was wood back then. Like everything, fam? I don't know. And again, just kind of thinking back, learning about the time period, even teachers, they would just say, that was the olden days. I'm like, what does that mean? The Great Chicago Fire began on the night of October 8th in or around a barn located on the property of Patrick and Catherine O'Leary at 137 DeCoven Street on the city's southwest side. So yeah, that's what they tell you, to Catherine O'Leary. It was her and the cow's fault. Legend holds that the blaze started when the family's cow knocked over a lighted lantern. However, Catherine O'Leary denied this charge, and the true cause of the fire has never been determined. Word. Says what is known is that the fire quickly grew out of control and moved rapidly north and east toward the city center. Did you know this? See, this the fun facts. This the type of stuff that I got taught in school with no supporting detail. Did you know the same day the Great Chicago Fire began, a fire broke the same day, fam? The Great Chicago Fire began. Another fire broke out in Peshtigo, Wisconsin, in which more than 1,000 people were unalived. Nah, I didn't know that in school. I never got taught that at all. I think I learned that on social media, probably within the last 4 or 5 years, me personally. So it says the fire burned wildly throughout the following day, finally coming under control on October 10th, when rain gave a needed boost to firefighting efforts. So they did have firefighters. The Great Chicago Fire left an estimated 300 people dead and 100,000 homeless. More than 17,000 structures were destroyed and damages were estimated at 200 M's. The disaster prompted an outbreak of looting and lawlessness. Companies of soldiers were summoned to Chicago and martial law was declared on October 11th, ending 3 days of chaos. Martial law was lifted several weeks later. I don't remember hearing any of this as a kid with all the questions that I had to ask, So it says Chicago Fire Aftermath. The month after the fire, Joseph Medill was elected mayor after promising to institute stricter building and fire codes, a pledge that may have helped him win the office. I don't know if y'all know, this is this type of thing right here, this is major Chicago history. And I mean, like, even now till current day. It's a lot of major unfortunate events and tragedies, that type of thing, that's that's happened in Chicago that allegedly are used for political gain. Just used politically in general, you know what I mean? Matter of fact, it's a famous quote by another Chicago politician, another mayor actually, that something along the lines of, never let a good tragedy go to waste. Something like that. Matter of fact. So yeah, this is I don't know how accurate this is. This was the first thing that popped up though. Let no tragedy go to waste, right? It says Winston Churchill, fam. He said no crisis should go to waste. I don't know. I tried to do a little looking into this. But this is the person I was thinking of. Your boy. This guy right here, who's also currently still in the government. But from 2011 till 2019, this was the mayor of Chicago. That's a trustworthy face right there, fam. Yeah, you can't make it up. So, your boy Rahm Emanuel, right? Mayor of Chicago for all of those years. Almost a decade. This is what he had to say. My bad, y'all. I had to let the robot know that I'm a human. So Rahm Emanuel said, quote, you never let a serious crisis go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things you think you could not do before. What y'all think he meant by that, fam? He didn't say it's an opportunity to do good or to help 300 people that have been unalived or 100,000 people that's been displaced. And that's the Great Chicago Fire. That wasn't the event that he was speaking on in this context, but it's a wild quote to me, especially from a mayor. All right, so boom. Chicago Fire happens. The Great Chicago Fire, 1871. Everything is demolished. All of these buildings that you can obviously tell are wooden. Even the streets look wooden to you, right? Because it's the olden days, as they say. So this is the unfortunate event. This is the tragedy. But Chicagoans, they didn't Chicago officials they wasn't letting something like this go to waste. This unplanned, uncontrolled event, right? So this is the comeback story. 1893, World's Columbian Exposition, or the World's Fair. The World's Columbian Exposition, also known as the Chicago World's Fair, was a World's Fair held in Chicago from May 5th to October 31st, 1893, to celebrate the 400th anniversary of your boy. This is the original Slaughter Gang. You dig? Celebrate the 400th anniversary of his arrival in the New World. Okay, cool. Please tell me y'all have heard of this before. Because again, this is another one of those things. I don't even remember hearing fun facts about this when I was a kid. I don't remember, again, the classes all throughout school, elementary school, middle school, high school, you get your textbook, and it's like just jumping around. It was never we were never taught. I can't think of too many classes that we were taught anything from a textbook in chronological order. You be in one chapter, then you come to school the next day or a week later, you know what I mean? And you 10 chapters ahead in the book, then you come back, take a test on that. A couple days later, we going back to the beginning of the book. We never kind of really read anything all the way through, social studies, history class, geography, most classes really. I don't remember being taught about this, me personally. And you would think, something so big. We was taught so much about the Great Fire. You would think something just a couple years later, couple decades rather. Like this is something amazing. Matter of fact, let me show y'all some pictures real quick. Okay, boom. It's the World's Fair, man. This Chicago in 1893, fam. This is some amazing architecture right here. And just 20 years after everything was built out of wood. Super interesting. It's also, if you do your research, it's some super interesting video from like inside of this thing, inside of this event. But just looking at, the architecture, how all of this stuff was built. Look at how big this building is compared to the people down here. This major statue where if you're from the area, I'm sure you recognize the statue, So yeah, let's do. So Jackson Park, Chicago. This is the Statue of the Republic. Super interesting, if you ask me. And just again, look at the architecture surrounding this area. But they took this down a couple years after the fair. For whatever reason. This is the current area. The World's Fair. This was I believe this was like the initial Ferris wheel. Designed by G.W. Ferris, George G.W. Ferris, the first ever Ferris wheel. So this is current day, you know what I mean? But this is back from initially the World Fair back in the day, World's Fair. You got the Statue of the Republic. So you got one that's still standing out there. Pangea Real Estate. That's a big statue, that's I don't think it was made out of wood, even though it's from the olden days. You know what I mean? So, okay, cool. So the World's Fair, 1893. Why was it so important? It says the fair was a stage for the world's newest inventions, innovations, and ideas. I dig that. That's a major comeback for Chicago, Again, just 2 decades after Everything was burnt to the ground. It was burnt to a crisp. It was the Great Fire, and it's all Mrs. O'Leary's cow's fault. Okay, now, why was the Chicago World Fair destroyed? A smallpox epidemic that originated at the fair in midsummer spread throughout the city by early autumn. Then, just before the gala closing ceremonies were to be held, Mayor Carter Harrison was unalive. Finally, shortly after the fair's close, a fire swept through the fairgrounds, destroying many of the buildings. Where have we heard that before, fam? Where have we heard that before? Allegedly, people also ask, why did they tear down the World Fair buildings? Buildings put up for World's Fairs were mostly only temporary structures. Imagine that. They weren't intended to last beyond the length of the fair. Did you know these were temporary structures, fam? That weren't meant to last beyond the fair itself? This big old building here that turned into this later on, right on the lakefront. It was initially temporary. Did you know that? Boom. Temporary building. Temporary building. All of this was built for a temporary purpose, for a fair in the olden days. And a lot of it got burnt up. And now we got this. You got Navy Pier, Museum of Science and Industry. Says it is housed in one of the only two remaining buildings from the 1893 World's Fair. The Art Institute of Chicago says the second of the two remaining buildings from the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition. When you do enough research, fam, I think it's just about fair to say that Chicago had a fire problem back in the day. Maybe Chicago firefighters, you know what I mean, didn't know what they were doing back in the day, which is kind of me asking questions. That would tend to be a lot of the answers that I would get. Oh, again, it was so long ago, you know, things have changed now, but it's great now, right? You know, firefighters, we got all this technology now, right? This is the type of things I would learn in the early 2000s as a kid. Really in the late 90s. And this is kind of how a lot of things would get explained away from me. You know, and I kind of, what else could I do? Again, pre-internet days and being young, what else could I do other than accept the short answers I would be given, you know, by the authority figures that were around me. So I don't know. It's kind of crazy to me, you know, the older I got and I would meet different people, you know, all kind of different walks of life. You know, they say Chicago is the most segregated city, I don't know, in the world or in the U.S. or, you know, whatever. But as we know, you know, in this country, it's been a lot of segregation. Segregation has been a hot topic for however long this country's been established. You feel me? So I don't know, but I would come across different people in my age group, all kind of different walks of life. Neighborhood that I lived in, it was middle class. So a lot of blue collar people working and living in this area. A lot of my friends had fathers who were construction workers, carpenters, engineers, that type of thing. So it's like just hanging out with different people in their families. You pick up different things. You learn different things about their careers, their skill sets, that type of thing. So, the older I got, I would tend to learn just different bits and pieces that it really only left me with more questions. Kind of why I look into the things that I look into. So like I said, I got a little bit older. The benefit of things like the internet, you know what I mean? And again, just talking with different people. I started hearing about these things right here, and looking at the dates, the time period again. This was always taught to me as the olden days. I only ever remember all my 12 years of school. I only remember being taught about the Great Chicago Fire. So come to find out, people also ask about what were the great city fires in the United States? What were the other ones? It was more than just Chicago, kind of in that same time period. We'll call it the same century. How many great fires you think there were just in this country in the same century as this one? So right here, Oxford is telling us there's one in Boston, there's one in Seattle, there's one in Baltimore, San Fran. So that's the whole country, ain't it? Cities throughout the United States experience horrific fires. The Great Fires of Chicago, 1871, Boston in 1872, Seattle in 1889, Baltimore in 1904, and San Francisco in 1906 brought unprecedented change to those communities and made way for drastic reforms. So since we talking about olden times, we just show y'all this list right here. We had a lot of great fires in this country, fam. Did y'all know this? And well, let's not even say this country. Let's just say North America. And there's some other places, worldwide in this list, but Hamburg, Germany, that type of thing. I just think it's odd, all the time that I spent in school learning all these fun facts. I kind of only was ever taught about the Chicago fire that this cow started, man. So, it was never nobody to blame for the one here. And kind of within the same century, you got boom, 1845, a great fire. Great fire in New York. Great fire. 1845, 345 buildings destroyed. Okay, cool. Olden days. I'm sure those buildings were all made out of wood too, right? Same year, Great Fire of Pittsburgh. Destroyed over 1,000 buildings. All wood, I'm sure. 1845, Puerto Rico. (1846), Newfoundland. Destroyed about 2,000 buildings, left 12,000 homeless. 1848, fire in Medina, Ohio. Destroyed the entire business district, huh? 1849, St. Louis fire of 1849, 3 were killed, including the first U.S. firefighter ever killed in the line of duty. That's a historic event right there, right? You know, it's sad. That's a fun fact though, right? Same year, 1849, first Great Fire of Toronto in 1849. 1851, San Francisco fire destroyed 2,000 buildings. 1852, Great Montreal fire left 10,000 of the city's 57,000 residents homeless. Boom, 1862, Troy, New York, 671 buildings destroyed. This all still before the Great Chicago Fire. Maybe that's why I never got taught none of this stuff. 1863, San Francisco Fire destroyed an entire block in the downtown area of San Francisco. 61 to 65, okay, we gonna blame the Civil War. Cool. Probably a bunch of cows and chilling next to lanterns down there. 61, Charleston, South Carolina, Atlanta, Georgia, Columbia, South Carolina, Richmond, Virginia. So the South, they was going crazy down there during the war. I give you that. 1866, Great Portland Fire. So this up north. 10,000 homeless. Another great fire, Quebec City. Says razed the entire Faubourg, left 20,000 homeless. 1870, Medina, Medina, Ohio. Says started in a wooden building with a barbershop, but consumed all but 2 blocks of the business district, nearly wiping out the entire town, fam. You remember learning about this? We just learned about this one. We also just learned the same day this one started, so did the Peshtigo fire. Several towns destroyed in a firestorm that reached Michigan. 1,500 to 2,500 unalived. Great Michigan Fire of 1871 was a series of simultaneous fires, the most prominent of which was the Port Huron Fire, which got 200 people out of there. Port Huron, Michigan. Just take a look at these dates, man. And like I asked in the last video, what's the probability? What's the odds that all of these great tragedies, great accidents keep happening? And in such a short amount of time. Some of them even on the same day. Same year, 1871, the Urbana Fire destroyed central Urbana, Illinois, October 9th. 1872, Boston had another one, the Great Boston Fire, destroyed 776 buildings, at least 20 people gone. Chicago Fire of 1874. Some respects, it was similar to the 1871 fire, but it was stopped by a new fireproof wall. Still destroyed 812 buildings. So we got technology now, is what they telling me here. Apparently not down south. Paris, Texas, the first of 3 fires destroyed much of the town. 1880s, Puerto Rico had a whole nother fire, same area. Calgary, Alberta, Vancouver, British Columbia. Boom, 1889, we got another one. Seattle, Washington. Destroyed the business district. Great Spokane Fire, Spokane, Washington. Destroyed the downtown commercial district. Great Ellensburg Fire resulted in the city's bid to become the the state capital, ending in failure. 1889 still, the Great Bakersfield Fire of 1889, California, destroyed 196 buildings. They funny with this one. The first Great Fire of Lynn, Massachusetts, destroyed about 100 buildings, took 2 weeks to put it out. Even though, man, we got fireproof walls back in 1874. So now we getting a little bit closer to the World's Fair. Same year, actually. Clarksville, Virginia. Fire destroyed many of the blocks between the river and 5th Street in the historic commercial core. Year after that, Great Hinckley Fire, Minnesota, was a firestorm that destroyed several towns, unalive over 400 people. 1896, Paris, Texas. The second of 3 fires that destroyed much of the town. Word. It's not funny, but you gotta, as my pops would say, you gotta laugh to keep from crying, right? So this still North America. The Great Fire, Windsor, Nova Scotia, Canada, destroyed 80% of the town. That's a great fire right there to do this kind of damage. Just one you might not have been taught about, I guess, unless you lived in this area. I don't remember being taught none of this living in the Chicagoland area, going through 12 years of public schooling. 1898, the Great Fire of Park City, Utah. So like, I want to know, let me know down in the comments, again, do you remember getting taught about all of this stuff happening kind of in a similar time period? Wherever you from, do you remember getting taught this stuff? And it's kind of, it lacks creativity, calling all of these different things, great fires, these huge tragedies, because you would think this would be something that'll be taught at least countrywide, if not worldwide, with just kind of the, how close all of this happened in time, to each other. 1901, Jacksonville, Florida. Destroyed the downtown area. I'm seeing a lot of similarities. Flames seen for hundreds of miles. 1902, Patterson, New Jersey. 1904, Baltimore. Same year, second Great Fire, Toronto, of 1904. So this sounds like this was they had more than one in the same year. 1906, San Francisco had an earthquake and a fire. It's crazy, man. 1911, Bangor, Maine. Destroyed hundreds of buildings. Same year, Porcupine, Ontario, Canada, destroyed 494,000 acres of forest. That's terrible, fam. 1912, Houston, Texas, 56 city blocks, Houston's largest fire. Same year, Maryland Agricultural College. It's now the University of Maryland. They didn't let that one go to waste, right? Great Salem Fire of 1914. Paris, Texas, boom, number 3. Destroyed most of the central business district and a large residential section. Great Atlanta Fire of 1917. Over 300 acres were destroyed, 73 blocks. 1920, we getting a little bit closer to a little bit more recent memory. This a century ago, basically. You feel me? It's still some people living from back then. Gotta be. 1921. I remember getting taught about this, not no detailed information. The Tulsa race riot destroyed 35 city blocks and a bunch of people's homes. All of these great fires. We got firewalls, we got firefighters. I don't know, maybe they were still building everything, the whole downtown area, all the infrastructure out of wood, but I would hope they would have come up with something else. By 1923, Berkeley Fire, California, destroyed at least 640 structures. Maybe not. 1925, Decatur Street, Atlanta, Georgia. We lost 6 firefighters. Another one in 1928. Maybe it's hard with however large these populations were back then. And again, this was the olden days. So again, it was hammer and chisel days, horse and carriage, we making huge World's Fairs out of temporary buildings. Maybe we didn't know how to do construction back 90 years ago. That's realistic, right? Now you're getting into World War II. So I guess we could write a bunch of these off because this is all just war related. None of these were accidents. Apparently. Allegedly. I don't know, man. I just I see all of this and I had to ask myself, where were these lessons in school as a kid? You would think these would be the type of things that you would get taught, and maybe sharing information about them, especially just all of the similarities. You would think that this will help the future generations from maybe making some of the same mistakes. Kids that want to go into architecture, urban planning, that type of thing. You would think at least a couple of these would be more of the fun facts that we would get taught on prevention, and maybe that's. Then again, you learn things like this. 1836, U.S. Patent Office fire. Around 9,957 patent records and some 7,000 invention models were lost. So all of the it wasn't just dummies running around back in the 1800s. This country had already been established for a few centuries by this point. It was like a technology boom. There's all kind of stuff being done back then. It wasn't horse and carriages. It wasn't just the wild, wild west everywhere. And you got stuff like this happening. 1836, U.S. Patent Office fire was the first of 2 major fires the U.S. Patent Office has had in its history. It occurred in Blodgett's Hotel building, Washington, on December 15, 1836. An initial investigation considered the possibility of arson due to suspected corruption in the post office, which shared the same building, but it was later ruled out. No big deal. The cause was ultimately determined to be accidental. So as I'm sure some of y'all would say, you know, if you made it this far into the video, I'm probably bugging. I'm probably seeing smoke where there's no fire, you know, no pun intended. And I'm checking out these different things, man. Completely unrelated topics. Census records fire. The 1890 U.S. federal census. Over 99% of the 1890 census records were destroyed by fire and flooding. Of 62,947,714 people enumerated, only 6,160 names Only 6,160 names could be extracted. 1890 census, another fire. 99% of the census was burned in a Commerce Department fire in 1921. The surviving fragments consisted of 1,233 pages or pieces. So when you put your information, when you put your DNA on these ancestry websites, this is the type of thing that you up against. You up against a history of tragic events and mishandling of those tragedies. But again, like your boy the mayor of Chicago, Rahm Emanuel, like he say, we don't let those events go to waste. At least in politics. All of these accidents, fam. What's the odds? Y'all tell me. But again, man, this plausible deniability, man. I appreciate y'all rocking with me. I appreciate y'all checking the page out. I'm sorry, because again, I didn't plan for this one to be another long one. This is just, it's really, we getting up on 3 o'clock in the morning here, where I'm at. But man, I definitely appreciate all the support. If you find the content interesting, man, hit me up. Let me know something. You feel me? Definitely subscribe. More than anything, though, man, just share this with somebody else. Share this with somebody who like to argue. Any critical thinkers, you feel me? Anything else y'all want me to cover, let me know. I'll do my best to see what I can find. See what the internet got to let us know about it. I appreciate y'all rocking with me, man. I'm out.